Well, we might start, council. Is everyone ready to start?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start the meeting now. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September meeting of council, and we'll open the meeting with a prayer. Join us, please, councillors, if you wish. Almighty God, be with us.
Be with us as we work for the people of the Shire of Moorabool. Grant us wisdom that we may care for the Shire as true stewards of your creation. May we be aware of the great responsibilities that are placed upon us. Help us to be just in all our dealings, and our work may prosper for the good of all. Amen.
Thank you. Next is acknowledgement of country. I will acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and the Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today. Just to note, councillors, this meeting, and everybody, this meeting is being recorded in accordance with council's governance rules, and the meeting is also being live streamed. I think all councillors are present, so there is no apologies. Next item is item 6, confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting of Wednesday, the 4th of August, 2021. So someone please move.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Second of that, Councillor Berry. I'll put that. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Item 7, councillors or office. Any disclosure or conflict of interest on the agenda tonight?
No.
Okay, thank you. Item 8, public question time. We have 5 residents have submitted questions, and 9 questions in total. And the first one was Mr. John Kowalski, and I'll hand over to Ms. Jones, who will read the question and also the response. Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Kowalski's question is, do council's plans for the Balan Library Major Priority Project include incorporating the Balan and District Community House adjacent to or within the same premises? The response, council does not currently have concept plans for a library facility in Balan. Community engagement on this project will begin in the current financial year.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Are there any questions, councillors, on that question or response? And undoubtedly, as with all these questions, Ms. Jones, those answers will be sent back to the questioners. Thank you. The next question is Ms. Rose de la Cruz, and Mr. Bazudenhout, do you wish to respond to that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll first read a question. What is council doing about the petition submitted, online and hard copies, with over 500 signatures protesting the removal of the current asset in Fiskin Street? The response, the petition was included as part of the application assessment. However, we have since been advised that council's community assets and infrastructure is currently considering alternative design solutions, which may potentially result in withdrawal of the application.
Thank you, Mr. Bazudenhout. Any questions on that, councillors? Councillor Tatchell, do you have your hand there, please? You're on mute at the moment, Councillor Tatchell. Still? Yes, that's better.
Yeah. Big thumbs, I think. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm just trying to remember how many signatures on that petition from the last meeting, and I didn't think it was 500. I think we only accepted, I think it was 129. Is that correct?
Mr. Bazudenhout, do you wish to respond to that, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'll have to take that on notice and provide a follow-up response as to the original petition and the current petition.
Thank you, Mr. Bazudenhout.
Thank you.
So we have another question from Ms. de la Cruz, question 2, and again, I'll hand over to Mr. Bazudenhout to respond to that, to read that and respond. Thank you, Mr. Bazudenhout.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The follow-up question is the Moorabool Shire Council going to establish a significant tree register to protect significant trees in future, as many progressive councils have done? I can just confirm council already has a number of planning controls in place to protect significant trees, such as the heritage overlay, the environmental significant overlay, and significant landscape overlays. The proposal for a significant tree register is noted, and I will, in my capacity as executive manager, initiate internal discussions to consider the proposal.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mr.
Mr. Mayor.
Zudenhout. And again, as responded by Ms. Jones, that the submitters will be furnished a response to these two questions. Ms. Dela Cruz. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, you've gone on to mute.
Somebody muted everybody, Mr. CEO.
Who muted? Oh, is that better?
Okay, you're back.
So at what stage did I go on mute? Anyone?
Just as introduce that item, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Edwards. The next question from the resident was from Ms. Michelle Kerr, and I'll ask Ms. Bassoon to actually respond to that, to read the question and the response. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've got three questions from the residents. The first question, farm rates increased by 25.76% from last year. How can each individual councillor feel this is a fair application when urban residences and commercial property are receiving either a reduction, no or very little increases to their rates? How is this able to occur with property prices soaring in regional towns? So the answer, each year, the Valuation General, which is the state authority, provides the land valuations that council uses for the purposes of rating. State government undertook a rate review last year that did not change the system. The 2021 valuation, which has resulted in an 8.7 increase in valuations on average, and 19.5% increase from farmland, and that can be seen in the budget document, section 441. To mitigate this impact, council has maintained for farmland the lowest differential of any of the categories, which is 0.78 of the general rates.
Thank you, Ms. Basson. Any questions on that one, councillors, before Ms. Basson goes on to the next question, please? Okay, thank you. The question 2, please.
So question 2, how can you lump such a rate burden on one sector rather than spreading it fairly across all residences? And can you understand property valuation does not increase revenue and ability to pay higher rates? So the response, depending on how each property valuation shifts compared to others, the level of rate decrease or increase experienced for each property owner will be different. And then this is a repetition from the previous response. To mitigate the impact of valuation increase in farmland, council has maintained for farmland the lowest differential of any of the categories, which is 0.78 of the general rate. In addition, on average, over the past 5 years, including 21-22, the farm rate category has contributed 10% of the total rate revenue, which is the highest year, with the highest year being 2018 at 11%.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions, councillors, on that response or the question? Councillor Tatchell, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. My question is that the fair go rate capping system is designed to cap rates and CPI. How could this possibly happen under that system?
Ms. Basson, do you wish to answer that or take it on notice, please?
Yeah, I'm happy to give maybe a high-level answer. So there was a review that was undertook by the state government in 2018, and one of the questions that was looked at was, is this a fair system? And the answer that came out of this review was a confirmation that that the system was fair. So this is what came out of the state review.
Thank you for that. And there is a third question from Ms. Kerr, please.
Yeah, so the question is, can you understand property valuation does not increase revenue and ability to pay higher rates? And our response, council have for many years had a property rate debt management policy in place, which enables a number of payment options and includes special payment arrangements, weekly, fortnightly, or monthly payments at amounts set by the ratepayer. And we also have in place a financial hardship policy for longer term financial changes, which can include full or partial deferral of rates.
Thank you, Ms. President. Councillor Berry, you have your hand up there, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sort of following on from Paul Tatchell too from that prior question. I don't, and what most of the community have contacted me over their farming rates. How can council say that the farming rates are going up 12%? And I've received 2 emails saying one was 24.76 and the other was over 25%. Yeah, can anybody answer that, please?
Ms. President, Mr. CEO has a hand up. Maybe he wishes to respond to that. Mr. Madden, please.
Through the chair, through you, Mr. Mayor. The way in which the valuations are calculated depend upon the valuation that's done by the Victorian Valuer General. So they value each property separately, and as you can imagine, different properties rise at different levels, and that's why it's not a uniform increase. So there is a lot of confusion when people start using averages and people start talking about a rate cap, because that is not actually what's reflected in the actual rate notice that people receive. What that actually means is that the cap that council collects is 1.5% above what it was the previous year. Within that, some properties will get increases and decreases on the basis of the valuations, and that information is contained on the rate notice.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillor Tatchell, do you have your hand up there, please?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So my question would be that despite what the Valuer General says, that ultimately council has the capacity to take that bounce out of it to bring it back to a fair rating structure.
Mr. CEO, you wish to respond to that, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, council are undergoing a review on their rating structure next year. As it currently stands, there is a differential rate for the farming rate associated with it. It is an issue that's pretty strong in the peri-urban. Traditionally, it was probably at the inner ring, which would be the interface group of councils. But probably in the last 3 to 4 years, this issue has definitely escalated within the peri-urban, where what you're having is land values increasing within the farming community at a significant increase compared to the average across the market.
Thank you, Mr. Madden. Councillor Edwards, you have your hand up there, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So just in line with Councillor Thatchell's question, is it correct to say that council has no ability to increase or decrease individual rate notices that may go up within certain categories or down within certain categories?
Mr. CEO, you wish to respond to that, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think the way in which councils would do that would be through a rating category and would be through differentials.
Yeah,
so that would probably be the cleanest way to do it.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, just subsequent to that, what I'm talking about within categories. So, for example, within residential rates, there are some people's notices that have gone up by 15, 20%. There are other people's that have gone backwards. But council has no ability within those categories to actually even out that rate distribution change. Was that a correct statement?
Mr. CEO?
I'll have to take it on 100% to be 100% sure, but I'm unaware of any methodology that could be used to tackle individual properties valuation changes, bar the process that someone has to appeal the valuations, which I think ends in October with the Valuer General's process.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Thank you, councillors. Undoubtedly, Ms. Kerr will actually get a written response to these questions. I would take it as per all questions. Thank you for that. The next resident with a question is Ms. Kate Sharkey, and I'll hand it over to Ms. President to respond to it. Read the question and respond. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, so the farm business sector across the Shire has experienced outrageous rate rises in the order of 25% plus. Please explain if this is not discrimination, then what do you call it? So our response is similar to the response provided previously. So each year, the Valuer General provides the land valuations that Council uses for the purpose of rating. There was a review that was undertook by the state government in 2018 that did not change the system. So for this year, for the 2021, the valuation resulted in an 8.7 increase overall in valuation and a 19.5 increase for farmland. So as the CEO was stating before, to try and mitigate that impact, we have maintained the farmland at the lowest differential of any of the rates categories, which is 0.78 of the general rate.
Thank you for that. And again, Ms. Sharkey will be receiving a response to her question. Thank you very much. Any other questions on that, councillors? Councillor Tatchell, you have your hand up there, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to note that I had a call this afternoon that a public question had come in at 8 o'clock this morning and was disallowed because of the time frame. Was said that it was too late. Yet in the assembly this afternoon, we said the reasoning why the questions came in late is because the questions came in late. Is there a cut-off time for these questions?
Mr. CEO, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I will have to pass that over to our governance team. There is a cut-off time, and it is advertised. I'm hoping Anthony will be able to give the exact time.
Mr. Smith, please, if you could respond to that, please.
Yeah, through the chair, under the governance rules, the cut-off time for public questions is 5 p.m. on the Tuesday before the council meeting. Okay,
thank you for that. We have another resident with a question. Ms. Alison Backhouse, and I'd ask Ms. Jones to read the question and also to the response, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. First question, we have received many finishing dates for the redevelopment of the Bacchus Marsh Racecourse Reserve. When do you realistically expect completion? And my response is the council are currently awaiting certificate of occupancy for the equestrian pavilion. The current hold-up relates to the final power core connection to the pavilion. It is anticipated this will be finalised by the end of September.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Any questions on that, councillors? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, yes, I do. I'm trying to put the hand up.
Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon, Councillor Berry.
Yeah,
yes,
sorry.
please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This seems very distressing for the Pony Club. It's ongoing. They do have a large event coming up in October. And if they can find out that they'll be open by October, they can take on this event. So I know you've, the response has said by the end of September there, hopefully it is, and they can have their event. They've been without these events for 4 years now. So is that an understanding that that will be a definite end of September so they can actually reply to get this event in October?
Ms. Jones, do you wish to respond to that, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the response is we are waiting on power call. So we are in contact with power call. We are waiting for them to finish their business so we can work with the Pony Club and other stakeholders, but we are awaiting that work from power call and a certificate of occupancy.
Is it fair to say, Ms. Jones, that some of this is outside of council's control at the moment? We just have to wait for others to do what they need to do?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, some of this is, yes, and we are trying to work as close as possible with all the stakeholders.
Thank you. Councillor Berry, your hand is up. Do you have another question? Oh, sorry, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. And again, Ms. Backhouse will be advised of that in writing. Ms. Backhouse has another question. Ms. Jones, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Does the woman camping at the Bacchus Marsh Racecourse Reserve have permission? And why were Bacchus Marsh Pony Club as a user group not notified? My response, council has not issued a permit to camp. Council is working with responsible agencies to find an appropriate resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Berry, have your hand up there, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also understand there's been another person camping out there just in a car. The club, particularly the Pony Club, are concerned when they do have their weekend events. They've got quite a way to walk to amenities now to use for the children to use the toilets. They have to be escorted now. So can we please have, they're a little bit concerned that they are not aware who those people are. Maybe if they were given some sort of understanding of who these people are. The children are quite distressed about passing these entrances, and yeah, as I said, they need to be escorted, which is probably not an ideal situation for the club to be in.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. Ms. Jones, do you wish to respond to that, or just take that on notice and be able to respond back to Councillor Berry?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to. What I would say is that it's a public space, and so there is no limitations on people utilising public space. However, camping is not allowed, so we are working to try and make sure that the people that are frequenting that area are getting the support they need to find somewhere else. And I will follow up with any further information.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jones. And as I said at the introduction, all those questioning residents will receive a written response as per what was read out at council meeting. So thank you, councillors, thank you, officers. The next item is item 10, presentations and deputations, of which there are nil. Next item is 11.1, 2017-21 Moorabool Shire Council Plan four-year final report. There is a recommendation on page 8, councillors, or any questions? And someone wish to move the recommendation? Councillor Berry, Councillor Edwards. I'll put that, all those in favour, and perhaps just raise your hand, councillors, because we can't sort of, thank you for that. That is carried. The next item is item 11.2, instrument of delegation from council to the Chief Executive Officer. And again, there's a recommendation there in 6 parts. And it was also an attachment in the business paper. So somebody, any questions? Councillor Tatchell, do you want to move it? And Councillor Ward? I'll put that all any dissent? I'll put that, all those in favour? Carried, thank you. The next item is item 11.1, instrument of appointment and authorisation and sub-delegation from council to staff under the Environment Protection Act 2017. Again, there is a recommendation there. In numerous parts. And
I'll move the recommendation of item 11.3, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Ward? Any dissent? Just, Councillor, with your indulgence, just a question. I just want to know if council it's not mandated, it's not mandatory. If council becomes the manager of an EPA agent, does that put us at any compromise us from the officers who are then actually supervising council staff as an enforcement from the EPA? Does it cause any issues, Mr. CEO, before I put the motor?
Fingers here, Mr. Mayor, trying to unmute. No, we've actually reviewed that internally, and we've actually done a risk profile on what that entails, okay. And the officers are quite comfortable with
okay, thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillors, I'll put that. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. The next item, business item 11.4, adoption in principle of the 2021 performance statement for submission to the Victoria Auditor General. And somebody wish to, any questions or wish to move that? Councillor Manara, are you moving it? Councillor Tatchell, I'll put that. Any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? It's carried. Councillor Ward, you have your hand up there. Sorry, I just... Councillor Ward? Your hand is up there. No, on the screen, sorry. No, okay.
It's on mute.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, the next item is 11.5, which is the 2021 Governance and Management Checklist. And again, there is a recommendation on page 20, councillors. So any questions? Or
so moved.
Move, Councillor Dudzik. Seconder?
Happy to second.
Seconder, Councillor Berry. Any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Item 11.6, Advisory Committees of Council Reports. There is one there from the Local Business Advisory Committee meeting of Tuesday, the 13th of July. You wishing to move that, Councillor Tatchell? Move Councillor Tatchell as a seconder for that, please. Councillor Dudzik. Any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Next item is item 12, Community Planning and Economic Development Reports, of which there are nil. Item 13.1, Draft Health and Wellbeing Plan 21 to 2025. Again, there's a recommendation in 3 parts on page 24. Is there any questions or somebody wish to move that recommendation, please?
I'm happy to move that.
Move Councillor Berry, seconded Councillor Dudzik. Is there any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? Thank you. The next item.
Rod.
Maybe Rod's asking a question.
Sorry. Councillor Ward, you're on mute there. Did you have your hand up in support of that or a question? I apologise if I've missed you. You're on mute.
He looked like he was just tenting.
Yeah, no, sorry, Mr. Mayor. I've had problems with IT tonight, so in this one, I'd like to actually move an alternative motion that.
Which one was this? This 11 point. We've just done 13.1. Is that the one you're referring to?
13.2. We done 13.2.
Okay. No, we have. Yeah, we're just moving on to that one now. So if that's all right.
Yeah.
So
okay. On page 32, there's talk about a construction of a hard wicket. I'd like to move an alternate motion where that is turf or hard wicket.
Just on this one, the recommendation is to adopt the master plan in attachment 1, and I'm assuming what you're referring to was actually in the attachment. Is that what you're saying, or not?
Yes, it is, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. CEO, can we sorry, Councillor Dudzik, you have your hand up there, please.
Can I just double check that Councillor Ward is actually talking about the racecourse reserve?
As I understand it, yes,
absolutely.
13.2, Councillor Dudzik. Councillor Edwards, you wish to say something?
Guys, I have actually circulated an alternate recommendation.
I did note that, Councillor, and I just was going to note that as well, but I just, with respect to this matter, it's actually the attachment itself, I think, that Councillor Ward is referring to, rather than the recommendation. So
I think my alternate recommendation will give that opportunity, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Ward, did you hear what Councillor Edwards had to say? That the alternate recommendation. Beg pardon?
Yes, I'm happy to listen to Councillor Edwards' alternate.
Okay, well, Councillor Edwards has actually circulated an alternate motion, building upon what's already there, but in 2 parts.
Would you like me to talk to just introduce that, Mr. Mayor?
I think it might be beneficial, Councillor Edwards, please.
So firstly, can I start that there's a significant workload on our council officers at the moment for a Shire that's probably one of the fastest growing in the regional Victoria, let alone the peri-urban group. And we know that we've got plenty of major projects on the go, such as the indoor stadium, indoor stadium. We've got the Dali Park Pavilion, we've got the Bland Rec Reserve, we've got the Bowls Club, we've got the Racecourse Reserve. However, in this particular case, we have a master plan that was adopted, and officers have done a pretty good job actually in preparing a draft master plan for stages 2 and 3. However, due to the fact that we've had a number of significant changes to the original adopted master plan, such as removal of an indoor stadium, the addition of an all-abilities playground, the addition of a driving range, addition of additional tennis courts, addition of a dog park, I feel it prudent that we actually should take this opportunity to go back and get community consultation. So for exactly what Councillor Ward talked about there, where there may be changes that the community may wish to make to that stage 2 and 3. So I think it'd be reasonable that we put this, rather than adopt it tonight, we put it out for consultation to seek feedback and any potential changes. So my alternate motion, Mr. Mayor, if you'll bear with me, I've just got to get it up in front of me. or the motion I propose is that Council approves stage 2 and 3 of the Racecourse Reserve Master Plan as provided attachment 1 to this report for the purpose of public exhibition period for 2 weeks, and receives a further report at the conclusion of the exhibition period for consideration of feedback and finalisation of the Bacchus Marsh Racecourse Reserve Stage 2 and 3 Master Plan. So I think that would address Councillor Ward's concerns that maybe there is necessity for some tweaking or some improvements to this. And I do commend officers for the volume.
I guess, sorry, Councillor, we better get a seconder before we have a discussion on if you're, so I'll just get a seconder first, please. Councillor Berry. Sorry, Councillor Edwards, not to cut across you, but I just wanted to make sure that we follow the process, as you'd be well aware. So we have an alternate motion proposed by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Berry. Is there any dissent to that?
Can I ask a question?
Certainly, Councillor Dudzik.
Would Councillor Edwards consider changing the consultation period to 4 weeks? Because 2 weeks isn't very long.
Yeah, I would, Councillor Dudzik. I'll just check with the CEO and our general managers to ensure that there's no funding implications that may be affected with that period.
Sorry, Councillor, the 2 weeks was to comply with that, or
I just want to check if we were to make it 4 weeks, would that have any impacts on potential funding applications?
Mr. CEO?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we can work with the 4 weeks. I've just received word.
I'm happy to accept 4 weeks, Councillor Dudzik.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Thatcher, you have your hand up there for a question.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. My question is, are there works already in progress regarding the master plans that were adopted by council, but obviously been changed, that'll be affected by going back to square one? And what happens to the original instruction from council on the master plan? Does that get scrapped, or does it have to be scrapped?
Mr. CEO?
True you, Mr. Mayor. There are some changes to stages 2 and 3, but the majority of it is in line with what the master plan is. It would involve this master plan, council voting for this one to supersede any previous master plans that were adopted. So there's a few items we want to look at with this master plan, and this will give us the opportunity to do that.
Councillor Tatchell, another question, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So are we talking about an amendment to the master plan that's already been accepted, or do we have to take away the master plan that was there to reinstate it with a new master plan?
Mr. CEO, please.
I will have to check the exact process, but there's no works associated with either master plan that has commenced at this stage. But the actual process from a governance point of view with the previous resolution of council, I would have to take on notice and get back to council. Councillor
Tatchell, a further question, please.
With respect to that, Mr. Mayor, does have to be deferred on the basis that we don't know the answer to that question. And if we actually take this motion on board, it could be compromised by whatever answer has been taken on notice.
Mr. CEO, you wish to respond to that, please?
Well, I suppose what we're doing is we're going out for consultation only. That's what the motion will be doing. It's not actually adopting the master plan. It's actually putting this master plan out for consultation. When we come back, that's when there would be a decision of council once we take that information from the public.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillor Edwards, you fleetingly had your hand up there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening there, Mr. Mayor. Every time I seem to put my hand up, it seems to disappear very quickly.
I happen to see it, so that's why I hand it over.
So the question I have in relation to that is it's not uncommon for council to continually update and improve all master plans. Is that correct?
Mr. CEO, you wish to respond to that?
True, you, Mr. Mayor, and that is correct, and that's why when we bring it back to council, that's when the formal decision will be made. All we would be doing is going out and asking the public their view. There would be no decision of council involved in it at this stage.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. With the mover, so the mover of the alternate motion has agreed to the 4 weeks, make from 2 to 4. Is the seconder happy with that?
Yes,
Without
Mr.
him?
Mayor.
Okay.
Yep, thank
So
you.
rather than have to go through a formal amendment, so is there any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? Thank you. It is carried. The next item of business is item 13.2, Dali Park Master Plan. And again, there is a recommendation on page 35. And this one is 4 weeks, so it's sort of goes out for exhibition. So, Councillor Edward, you have your hand up there, please. Is your...
Yeah, noting it's for further consultation, I'm happy to move the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Seconded, Councillor Dudzik. Is there any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. The next item of business, item 14.1, proposed renaming section of Duncan Street land off Simpson Street. And again, there is a recommendation to start a process there, councillors. So any questions or somebody prepared to move that? Move, Councillor Tatchell. Is there a second? Oh, sorry, there's a question. Beg your pardon. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, question, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry.
I'm happy to move it, but my question is, how many houses are in that little court, and how many is it capable of having into the future? Because from what I can see, there's only one.
Mr. CEO or Mr. Jeffrey?
To you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not 100% sure on that one. How many actual properties are on that road? I'm not too sure if our general manager or customer care would be aware of that.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm not able to answer that question. I'm happy to take it on notice.
Councillors, on page 41 of the agenda, there is a diagram that shows the length of the proposed road, and it does seem to serve a few houses, not too many, but I guess, yeah. Do you want to, so obviously that response will come through Councillor Tatchell in due course. Obviously you're prepared to move it, but just wanted to know how many houses it might serve. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, my concern was only that I think the other 4 houses are on corners that are on the other road. So we may end up with a situation of one house to one court with one number. So I suppose it goes out to consultation, will get sorted, but my understanding is that are we going to change the addresses of those other 4 houses? That's the concern, because we could end up upsetting their mail.
Okay, I guess that will come out as part of the consultation process, I guess, but are you prepared to move that way, Councillor Tatchell?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder, please? The seconder, Councillor Edwards. Any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. Next item is 14.2, 10-year financial plan 2021 to 2031. And there's a recommendation on page 43, councillors. Any questions or someone prepared to move the recommendation?
I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Dudzik. Is there a seconder for that, please? Councillor Ward. Is there any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Next item is 14.1, adoption of in principle of the 2021 financial statements for submission to the Victorian Auditor General for certification. And again, there's a recommendation on page 46. That you moving it, Councillor Tatchell? Thank you. Councillor Tatchell moves the motion. Is there a second to Councillor Berry? Any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? Is carried. Thank you. Next item is community assets and infrastructure reports, nil. Item 16, other reports, nil. Item 17, notices of motion, again, nil. Item 18, notice of rescission, again, nil. Item 19.1, there's the Mayor's report, which has been circulated, hopefully, to all councillors of the activities that and functions I've been in attended to since our last meeting. So, are there any questions or somebody move that they be received, please? Move Councillor Tatchell, seconder, Councillor Berry. I'll put that. All those in favour? It's carried. Councillor, I'll just go around the screen with the council reports of your indulgence. So I'll start up on the top left. Councillor Berry, do you have any council reports, please?
No, Mr. Mayor. All good, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councillor Edwards, you have anything to report, please? You're on mute there, Councillor Edwards, sorry.
No, Mr. Mayor.
No, thank you for that. Councillor Dudzik, do you have anything to report, please?
Just one thing, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to let councillors know that Mike Said has retired from the Audit and Risk Committee, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank him for his many years of service and contribution to Moorabool.
Thank you, Councillor Dudzik. Well said. I was just wondering whether at some time you'd like to perhaps move a motion that a letter of thanks under seal be sent to Mr. Said for his contribution over a long period. Perhaps something for you might consider that if.
I'm happy to do that in urgent business if
thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Dudzik. Councillor Manara, any urgent business, please?
Or reports, you mean?
Oh, leading on. Reports, yes, thank you. Thank you.
That's all right. Yes, I'd just like to also follow on from Councillor Dudzik. I obviously haven't known Michael for very long, but he was very much someone that I was learning from. I'd also like to just note that I also had a peri-urban meeting, and I will let councillors know on email about some updates we've had there, and it seems it's a very passionate group that is moving ahead quite quickly and quite passionately.
Thank you, Councillor Manara. Councillor Tatchell, any reports, please?
No, nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tatchell. Councillor Ward, anything to report, please? Any councillor reports?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask the question about who's responsible for the entrance and gateways into our towns, because I've noticed and I've received considerable feedback about how untidy they are. Is Vic Roads responsible for the freeway exits and entrances, or is it Moorabool Shire? Because when you're driving to Ballarat, it looks quite beautiful. When you drive into Moorabool and you get off one of those off-ramps, it looks quite terrible.
Mr. CEO, you wish to respond to that, or just take it on notice and to get back to Councillor Ward on that issue?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to take that on notice because there would be a mixture, so I'm happy to give Councillor Ward the full details, which is probably not appropriate now.
Councillor Ward, you have a supplementary question, and then Councillor Tatchell.
Yeah, no, and Mr. Mayor, if I may, look, I did drop out there for about 10 minutes, so there was a couple of things I missed. So when the meeting's over, if I could go back into camera and just speak to councillors, that'd be great, and CEO.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Tatchell, you had your hand up there too, please.
I just want to make a point of order, Mr. Mayor, that maybe when we've got questions regarding items, that they should be brought up in urgent business as opposed to council reports.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that on board. Thank you, Councillor. Somebody move the council reports we received, please. Councillor Dudzik, Councillor Manari. Put that all those in favour. It's carried. Again, I'll go around the same order, councillors. This item 21, urgent business. Councillor Berry, any urgent business, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like, I'm not sure who I'm directing this to, but I'd just like to know how those two advisory groups are going, the ones that were dropped from committee groups earlier in the year, and that is the Maddenley Park group, and the second is the Bacchus Marsh Recreational Reserve group.
Mr. CEO, you wish to respond to that, or just take it on notice and get back to Councillor Berry on the detail of that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I will have to take that on notice, but we do have a report coming, a briefing note coming as well, but I will take that separately as well and provide details on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Edwards, any urgent business, please?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dudzik, any urgent business?
Yes, I'd like to move a motion thanking Mike Said for his contribution to Moorabool Shire Council on its audit committee.
Given the process we go through, so you flagged that you want to do that, I'll go through the process of seeing whether council will accept that urgent business. So I'll just, and you've indicated what it's about. So councillors, I'll put that as council prepared to accept that. Move Councillor Manari, seconded Councillor Ward. We accept that. I'll put that all those in favour. It's carried. Thank you. Councillor Dudzik, now if you wish to move the motion that you indicated you're preparing to move.
That council write a letter of thanks under common seal signed by the mayor to recognise and thank Mr. Mike Stead for his many years of service and contribution to Moorabool Shire Council on Council's Audit and Risk Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Dudzik. Is there a seconder for that, please? Councillor Minari? No, any dissent? I'll put that. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Any other urgent business, Councillor Dudzik?
No.
No. Councillor Minari, any urgent business, please?
No urgent business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Minari. Councillor Ward, any urgent business, please?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Tatchell, any urgent business, please?
Just a question, if I can, Mr. Mayor.
Certainly.
In terms of the rate notices that have now gone out, and the fact that we've been in a COVID lockdown again and Australia Post is under a lot of pressure, will there be an extension of time for those that wish to question their rates notice and maybe a reasonable amount of time for those people to question their rate notice, because there's a time frame or time limit on it at the moment that may not be conformed to by Australia Post? Mr. CEO, do you wish to respond to that, please?
To you, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to take that on board, and I will personally liaise with the Valuer General's office to see what can be done regarding that time frame.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Does that answer your question, Councillor Tatchell?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, we now move into a closed session of meeting to deal with 5 items. So to get somebody prepared to move into confidential. Councillor Berry, Councillor Tatchell. I'll put that. All those in favour? It is carried. Thank you.